All right, so season 9 Campfire. I'm just gonna go through what they said. I've got 2 full pages of notes, and I'll give you my opinion on it. All right, let's just get started. So about season 8, they said they're happy with the leveling speed, activity variety while leveling is boring, and this kind of ties into what they were saying later about how people, when they release a seasonal activity, if you don't do the seasonal activity, you don't progress the season. So it kind of forces you into doing that, which I agree with. And there was like a little bit of an argument last season about what was going to be the fastest way to level, and people said, "Oh, it's definitely doing the seasonal activity." And I said, if you guys think that is boring, I don't even think that's the fastest way to level. I think it's just doing the normal campaign. And I did the normal campaign, and everybody else who played solo who did the actual seasonal activity, I think I absolutely cooked them. As far as I know, I think it was the first person to 60 just doing the normal campaign, which is even more boring. Doing the most boring thing on the lowest difficulty is still the fastest way. So I guess they're happy with like the 3 to 4 hour time period because anybody can do the normal campaign as fast as anybody else. You don't have to craft, you don't have to get any legendary powers. It takes no skill at all. But I do agree that forcing you to do the seasonal theme in order to buff the seasonal theme while leveling is also not the answer. They said endgame variety is too directed toward lair bosses. That's true. It's been a problem since forever. They want activities to feel punchier. So I actually just played the Slormancer, which is a new ARPG, and they have like a main mode that you do where you gain resources that you spend, like carnival tickets, to go do the other activities. And you might think, well, that's like a garbage system because I don't if I want to do those other activities, I just want to do them, right? I don't want you to force me to do something in order to do something else. Maybe, and that's fair, but I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you the feeling that I had playing the Slormancer is I felt like doing the other activities were a reward because of that system. So when I got to do the tower, when I got to go do the forge, it was a reward for farming up the resource. So they said like if they want the activities to feel punchier, it sounded like what they were saying was trying to find like some main way and then have the other things be more rare to enter. And at least when I played the Slormancer's implementation, that actually felt good, but I never really heard them elaborate further on how they're going to make this happen. So I don't know. If they do that, I'd be very interested to hear what their thoughts were, if I'm even actually understanding what they were even saying. It said class balance is overall pretty good. Lightning Spear is too good. Spiritborn's too weak. Overpower is dominating. The best builds are mostly the same best builds from Season 7. And they said that one of their goals is that all builds should be able to do all content. If I can quote them correctly, I think they also said on Tier 4. So I thought that they said that they made Tier 4 like aspirational and they made it a lot harder to get to last season. But now they're saying like all builds should be able to get there. Maybe those things aren't mutually exclusive, but that seems very hard to achieve both goals. Either way, at least a lot of these seem logical. Now on to Season 9. Nightmare Dungeons feel stale. I agree with that. They want to make permanent changes within the seasons. This has been one of the biggest problems with Diablo. Diablo does all this work, and then they don't bring any of it back, so the game doesn't really evolve. But then when they bring something back, they don't necessarily bring back the part that's actually fun. Thing that I can remember the most is when they brought back the vampire powers or whatever in like the ones that they chose to bring back, They didn't even bring back my favorite one. I think it was called Hemo. They didn't bring back Hemo, my favorite one. And the thing that works so well about the vampire season was the progression of the powers. And they didn't bring back the progression system. They only brought back some of the powers and then they just gave them to you. The whole time on the PTR or on this campfire, they're talking about depth. Depth is not just handing it to me. Why didn't you bring back the progression system? Like, not to draw like comparisons here, but Path of Exile, when they introduce a whole new mechanic and then they take it down for a few seasons, then they re-implement it. They don't just give you the rewards. They don't just hand them to you. They also usually have some form of the progression system with it, which gives you something to gnaw on. Now, POE1 didn't do a perfect job of it. They would tell you the same. Grinding your games tell you the same thing. Because there was too much bloat in the game. They're trying to dial that back. That's fine. But yes, this is good to make permanent additions or permanent changes within the seasons. But I hope they consider the entire picture of what they're adding and don't just give us things from the season in the next season that doesn't add depth, which is what they kept talking about. Horadric spells are create your own power. I wasn't really understanding how it was, but it is create your own power. The catalyst is the main power that you get. Admittedly, the powers actually look pretty cool. Everybody is sick of powers. Powers that they showed in the video actually look pretty good. You get to choose the element type, and it matches the highest damage type that you already have. That's cool. And then there's different arcana that fill in the holes of your build. It can give you like unstoppable or make the area size of the catalyst much bigger. It looked pretty cool. It'll be fine. It's powers again. It's the same idea over and over and over, a little bit different. Hard to get super excited for it, but it did actually look kind of decent. It'll be fun for a little bit, I'm pretty sure. And the fact that you bind it to your specific skill does add something there. So it's definitely not the worst thing I've ever seen. Nightmare Affix updates, they added a little bit different positive things to it with a rarity system. This is probably better. I don't think this is like, it's literally the Nightmare Dungeon season. I don't think this is anything that people are going to be excited about. It's kind of whatever. Horadric strong rooms. Out of anything, this is probably the thing that makes me the most nervous, because this seems to be with escalating nightmares. It's really just this, because escalated nightmares are just back to back to back nightmare dungeons. So this is really it. This is really the new thing. So within Nightmare Dungeons, there's a hidden entrance to a new mini dungeon within it. But then they said they took out the gauntlet and then they made the strong room similar to the gauntlet. So that, like, just hearing it, like, don't knock it till you try it. Fine, I'll get in there and try it. I would love for this to be really, really fun. But if you took out something that people didn't like, and then the main attraction of your next season is to add back in the thing that's very similar to the thing that people didn't like, that sounds very, very dangerous. That does not inspire confidence. Maybe it's way better than I'm thinking it's going to be. Now, I just got done playing Claire Obscure Expedition 33, and this is even similar to like Lost Ark when you're doing chaos dungeons, where sometimes a gold portal or a red portal will spawn. Or in Claire, I literally was running around everywhere except the main way, trying to find secret things. And both of those are a little bit different, and both of those feel very, very rewarding when you find stuff. So I'm praying, I'm hoping that Blizzard can recreate that feeling with these Horadric strong rooms, because there's lots of different in different kinds of games, there's lots of different examples of where you get these like different things to happen within something main that you're doing that are very fun. But then when they said they just took huge inspiration from the Gauntlet, I really don't know. So we'll have to see. Escalating nightmares, you can just chain do nightmare dungeons with like new affixes and stuff. That's good. I mean, I like efficiency, so I'd rather do that. They brought back one of the bosses with new mechanics, and they didn't put it in the boss ladder. Okay, it's fine. Herodric Jewels, they're occult gems from Season 7, and they have synergy with Catalyst. Okay, that's fine. I hope that they're cool. I don't know, not much to say. Overpowered nerfs, bonus damage reduced by 80%, and then also the additive amount of overpower that they were giving you on items was way higher than something like critical strike damage. Okay, so not just talking about overpower here, but Diablo 4 has an overarching problem that has never been solved, and this might be a very small step towards solving it, but I think it really takes away from the game that we are hitting for trillions and billions of damage every single season. I think at some point they have to take a colossal crack at this to just make the numbers somewhat reasonable. To give a comparison, I remember the first dev talk that Mark had after the first weekend in POE2. He said he was tuning into all the streams, and he said he saw someone hit for 500K. Then he saw someone hit for 800K. And then he saw someone hit for 1 million. And he said, like, he felt like kind of sick that people are already hitting for 1 million damage in POE2, like 3 days into it, when, you know, they probably tried to, like, balance it for early access, which is commendable for them. This is not easy to do. But, you know, immediately they were like, we need to get a grasp on the damage that's going out in this game, because if we don't, then it's going to scale out of control. They dialed it back, the community got mad, but then they've been tweaking it ever since, and now the people who are still playing PoE2 really, really like it. That's why I'm confident that when PoE2 launches, whenever at the end of the year, it's going to be like a really good balanced game. We at some point, like, one of my questions I like to have Blizzard is, when are we going to actually take a crack at bringing all these numbers, you know, somewhere back to reality so we can actually balance the game? I don't think, like, this is a good start, but I don't think that they're ever going to get there until they take some colossal swings at everything, which would also require potentially changing the values of like Torment 4 and the HP of bosses. The goal for this is not to make the game impossible to play. The goal is to make the numbers actually make some sense. And when the numbers make sense, then we can much more accurately balance it to reach their goal of, they want all builds to be viable. It's kind of hard to understand how to make all builds viable when some hit for 10 trillion and some only hit for 40 billion. They both seem like ridiculous numbers, but the damage levels are completely different. Basic skill buffs, I mean, this has been a problem since the dawn of time, at least in the early game. The basic skills were only there to generate resource to cast something else, rendering them completely useless. I'd much rather they do something in the beginning. So I think this is good. Max resistances, some item have too many, and I think they said the cap can go to 75. If I was hearing that right, like from 70 to 75. That's fine. It's just a puzzle you have to solve in your build. It's fine. The key passives, the ones that scale infinitely, will be capped. That makes sense. The class changes. Earthquakes nerfed. I mean, they've been way too strong. They simplified the legendary Paragon. Basic skills can now cleave with a unique. Didn't actually look that exciting, if I'm being completely honest. Cataclysm's nerf for druids. Griefly Rage is getting some buffs. Splashing poison puddles. So Pulverize creates a poison puddle, and then it puts like little poison projectiles everywhere. But the entire point in Diablo 4 usually is to be very mobile, be mobile. So I put a poison puddle, and then you want me to hit the poison puddle again. Okay, that's like good for bosses, but I would have much rather like you hit the poison puddle and now your claws are imbued with poison for however many seconds, and the projectiles just continue with you or something. I don't think that's how it works from how they described it, but that's what I would have preferred, something that moves with you. And I also think if I saw that right, I don't know if this is possible to lower, that it has a 10-second ICD. Very hard to get excited about that. Soul Rift removed barrier. So that's like one of the main things that I think Soul Rift was used for. Gonna have to ask Macro, but I'm pretty sure that was the main thing. Blood Wave nerfed. I think they already tried to nerf it once. They're trying to nerf it again. Now, this is something that I'm really looking for the Blizzard and the Diablo team to do. So they have a unique where now your mages, if you sacrifice your skeletal warriors and your golem, you get that many more mages. And after the mages kill, I think, a certain number of people, they level up into archmages. They teleport away from attacks, and they do more damage. This is kind of like an absolutely game-changing unique, where your minions, instead of tanking for you, now they just stay back and you're the tank. And there's a component where, you have to sacrifice your whole army to get way more mages than you ever could before. And now there's a mechanic where you have to make sure that they're leveled up. Like, this is actually very different from a normal summoning build. This is the kind of stuff, this is the kind of transformative stuff that I'm looking for to be interested in theory crafting in the game. We started off with 10% damage, 10% attack speed. This is much more something like I'm looking for them to implement. For rogues, they nerfed Death Trap. They buffed some of the things to help Poison Trap. Eagle Horn, so Pen Shot could be buffed. They have a Flurry unique that spends life instead of resource to do more damage and attack at the speed of light. Pretty cool. Look like Wolverine attacking 10,000 miles an hour. See if you can get enough like life on hit or life regen, something or other to sustain this. But yeah, probably not for casuals and not for hardcore players, but at least it's somewhat interesting. Lightning Spear nerfed, rebalancing, burning. This is probably the thing I'd be most interested to try, is the different Hydras. I want to see how powerful they are. Now they always have 3 heads, but they gain extra damage for the number of heads that they would have had, and they shoot explosive shots. Maybe you can combine this with the what's it called? The Catalyst that has the summons as well. You can get Hydras everywhere with the ads. Might be good. Spiritborn's behind. They're buffing Razor Rings. The Hunter resets nerfed. I was really wondering if they were understanding why the Hunter was so overpowered, and they did understand. It's because of the cast on ultimate effects in the game. So I'm glad that they understand why 90+% of people, as they said, take the Hunter. Then they're implementing a Poison Thorns unique. Then for the systems, they said the elites and bosses give seasonal rep. This is good. We don't want to just do the seasonal activity all the time to get our seasonal rep. So the lair hordes give the currency as well. You can port straight to a nightmare dungeon from a nightmare dungeon. Reduces loading screens. Increasing the quality of items per tier. So I think in the game, the way that the game currently works, if I remember correctly, is you can always get the best items at Torment 1, but the quantity of items goes up. So if I'm understanding what they said, now they're also giving a buff to quality of items. So I think initially they said that they didn't want to add this because the casuals would be mad because they just wanted to farm T1 all day to get all the best gear. But this seems like adding quality with quantity, if I have it correct, is kind of saying, no, like, you need to actually push into the game if you want the best stuff, which is how it usually works in like every single game, right? If you can get all the best stuff at a lower difficulty, why would you turn it up? It's like when I level up, everyone around me is doing the seasonal mechanic. I did the normal campaign because I just level faster. Why would I try if I don't have to try? This seems like I can't quite get a grasp from Blizzard where they're drawing the line here, because Diablo 4 is really catered to casuals very severely the whole time. A lot of people were saying, well, there's no incentive for me to grind or blast or try. This seems like maybe they're trying to give some of that back. Maybe they're like questioning that a little bit. So if I could have asked one of the questions, I would have asked them stuff like this, or I would have asked them, like, and not in a shitty way, like in a genuine way. What gives you the confidence that this Herodric Strong Room is going to be exciting when the Gauntlet wasn't very well received by the community? Like, I'm just trying to understand where the hype is coming from here. They're giving you more of like legendary runes with the tributes of harmony. Undercity things will always drop a rune. Whisper cash resource increases. Jewelry cast resource cost reduce. I don't think anybody usually ever uses these. Maybe they will now. Increase gems from infernal hordes. So when I think about all of this in general, I mean, most of this, I think you could make the argument, is making the game better. This is the season of Nightmare Dungeons, and one of the questions that they asked I thought was brilliant, because we've been asking for this, is indicate on a sigil dynamically when one actually counts for a whisper, because that actually matters. But they said they didn't add it for this season, but this is the season of Nightmare Dungeons. So if we don't get it now, when are we ever going to get it? But I think these Nightmare Dungeon updates are, this is good, I guess. I hope this is good. I'll take this for sure. I'll take the porting between Nightmare Dungeons, but I think the general sentiment of people is this is going to be kind of a nothing burger. I don't think people are going to be super excited to be doing these. I think it's going to be mostly just, again, killing Torment for Belial, and yeah, I think that I'm not sure that the meta is going to shift here at all, especially since you can get the season rep without doing the seasonal activity. I'll try the PTR. I hope it's really fun. Anything that I don't have confidence in, I hope I'm wrong. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll see.